high school football in St. Johns County, and we are entering Week 5 with a full slate of games tonight. Before we talk about Week 5, we're going to recap a splendid Week 4 action. St. Augustine beat Flagler Palm Coast 34-14 in control after the first quarter of that game. The Yellow Jackets wrapped up another perfect September. They have not lost a September game since 1999. Bartram Trail a comeback in the fourth quarter to beat Ponte Vedra 30-27, a big district victory for the Bears. They're now 3-1. St. Joseph goes on the road to Quincy Monroe, 55-14 win behind Scott Jones, 3 touchdowns. Menendez 35-21 win over Ridgeview. Tony Stewart, 2 picks returned for touchdowns in the fourth quarter of that game, 19 seconds apart, helped Menendez end a 3-game slide. Last but not least, Nice 47, Creekside 35, a shootout in that game, and the Panthers prevail with a wild second half to beat Creekside, and Nice ends a slide of its own and wins its first district game. As we move into Week 5 games, a pretty good slate tonight of games. 4 of the games are in town, so if you want to go out and see some good high school football, tonight is the night to do it. Bishop Kenny visiting Bartram Trail, both teams 3-1 there. Should be a good one at Bartram. St. Augustine hosting Ponte Vedra. Ponte Vedra 2-2. St. Augustine 4-0, trying to move to 5-0 for the 10th consecutive season. Middleburg is visiting Menendez, and if you think there's not some history in this game, Middleburg is 5-2 all-time against Menendez, and last season went 1-9, a dubious 1-9 season for the Broncos, but that one win was against Menendez, so you don't really need to hype this game if you're Menendez and stress it anymore. They want revenge for that loss last season, so it's a big one at Menendez tonight. Nice and Trinity Christian. Trinity is a Jacksonville team and 4-0, credible running-based team. They put up almost 70 last week against Eaglesview. Nice has struggled a little bit on defense, so it'll be interesting to see how the Panthers' defense responds to maybe their biggest offensive challenge of the season. Creekside going on the road to Palm Coast Matanzas. Creekside is 1-3. Matanzas struggling a bit this season. They're 0-4, but last week they took Bishop Kenny down into the fourth quarter before losing in that game. St. Joseph, last but not least, going on the road and playing at Pearson Taylor. St. Joseph, a heavy favorite in that game. The Flash is 3-1, and Pearson has only 1 win this season. And we can't talk about last week without talking about our player of the week, Denzel Hayden, a Nice sophomore running back / defensive player. He did a little bit of everything last week in that 47-35 win over Creekside. 4 touchdowns from Denzel, 3 of those rushing touchdowns, 1 of those a fumble return for a touchdown, not from 9 yards out, and picked off 2 passes. So he joins a pretty solid list of players of the week that we've had so far. Dwayne Brady from St. Augustine the first 2 weeks. Andrew Barker, a kicker from Nice, and now Denzel Hayden is a Week 4 player of the week after 4 touchdowns and 2 defensive interceptions. Next week, we will talk about the mid-season All-Stars, maybe throw a few players to watch in the front-runner race for the Player of the Year standings, and just some standout performers, and kind of reevaluate the front part of the season, the second half predictions, and maybe the teams that have the best track for playoff spots. A lot of teams in the county chasing those positions for the district winner, district runner-up spots, and 3A. Sorry. Next week, we'll talk to you about our mid-season grades, hand out the best of the season, the worst of the season, and throw out some few names as we start thinking about Player of the Year and the top player in the county this season. So we will talk to you next week, Week 6, and recap Week 5 games and break down what we've seen so far in the season.